This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. I am your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're tuning around the world, whether it's 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or even if you're chilling at home watching us live on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in, and what a show we have in store. Okay, right, so we talk about a lot of things here on the show. We talk about education, we talk about sports, we talk about mental health, we talk about gut health. Today, there's a little bit of a twist to the show because yes, you've had some fantastic guests, but can't wait to introduce my next guest to you. Tashriq Muhammad is currently heading up the athletics department at Rochester Institute of Technology. Try saying that 10 times. But what does it take to develop the next Cristiano Ronaldo, Bron James, or even Serena Williams? His main focus for the region is to create more sporting opportunities and competition for all universities in the UAE. That's the first part. Then we discuss the power of technology in sports, how to use it, the role of sports science, and developing athletes. I told you it was going to be good, but that's not just it. Yes, I'm spoiling you lot. I'll tell you what else. We had a halftime show Pulse 95 radio competition. For those people that love fantasy football, like me, you might not be good at it, but this guy's won it 2 years in a row. So we're going to have Tashriq's advice on how you should put your fantasy football team together for next season. And I'm going to do that all for you on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Sure is that time. It's the only time to be at 3 on the Halftime Show on Omar Adori on Pulse 95. Thank you very much for tuning in. And also, shout out to Ish as well, who's behind the scenes here. I just put her on the spot there. Great to see that. Okay, today we've got a lot of people on the live as well. Let me give a couple of shout outs. We got Florin, Zara, the other Zara, Shakib, you've got Edward, you've got Maria, you've got Haifa, you've got Mustafa, you've got Rashid, you've got Zara, you've got Kulthum and Tawassul as well. Thank you very much for joining in. Florin, the fact that you keep joining in from New York, man, that makes the show international. Thank you very much. Okay, we got a special guest in the studio today. Let's give him a little bit of a round of applause. Tashriq, how you doing?
What's up, Omar?
How you doing? Great to have you on board, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, me and you, Tashriq, we spoke about this a couple of years ago before I even had this show, and I was very interested in what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about the great stuff you do at university?
Yeah, well, so I work for a university in the UAE, Rochester Institute of Technology in Dubai. We're a global American university, the only American university in Dubai. We've got branch campuses in Rochester, Croatia, China, and obviously the Dubai one. So I oversee the athletic department.
Yes.
I'll use the word athletics since athletics in America, since we are an American university.
Yeah.
We refer to that as sports.
Right, but the accent is from?
South Africa. Sorry, yeah. So I'm born and bred in South Africa.
Excellent.
I made the move to the UAE 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since.
Amazing.
And I'm enjoying it.
Amazing. What's it like to develop a university program? There's a lot behind that.
There is a lot behind it. I don't think a lot of people really know how much work goes behind it, especially in the UAE where university sports is in its infant stages.
Yeah.
You can say it's probably about 15 years old only.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of work behind the scenes, not just with myself, but from various other universities around the UAE, not just Dubai.
Yeah, and how many sports do you cover?
So we cover, at our university, we cover just the main traditional sports such as basketball for male and female, football,
nice,
volleyball.
So glad you called it football.
I was going to say soccer, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, go on.
Volleyball, cricket, badminton. Those are the sports that we offer at our university, but there are other universities that offer much more sports. Yeah. Depending on the student population.
Yeah, and speak about student population, what do they tend to normally lean towards when it comes to the sports, both for male and female?
Soccer, football.
Yeah.
Football is
We almost had another one.
Yeah. Football is the most popular sport in the UAE. Yeah. So students tend to lean towards football. Basketball is a close second.
Yeah.
Right now we try and develop women's football.
Excellent.
Amongst university students, because it's not as big, unfortunately, as as the men's side of things.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of coverage recently with women's football and the rise of it. Have you noticed more interest for females joining sports at your university?
Not really,
okay.
To be honest. Yeah. We've also not trained with our athletes for a year and a half.
Of course,
now
because of COVID.
Because of COVID-19.
Right.
So for a lot of you listeners that don't know, all universities were basically shut down up until, no one really knows when we're going to restart sports again. So that's been quite a challenge for all of us.
See, that's very interesting. I've never seen it from the inside perspective of a university. How has that been in terms of interaction, communication, which you guys thrive off as universities?
Yeah, I mean, we're so used to have this face-to-face interaction with students, and it was a huge transition for all of us to be going online and we just had to be creative in the way we communicate with our students and athletes. So we came up with a whole bunch of initiatives throughout the year, which was, some of it worked, some of it really didn't work much, but for the most part we've learned a lot from that. For example, we've created the Esports Platform, which we've never done before.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? What's the Esports Platform?
So we created a FIFA league.
Yeah.
So basically, our students they play each other every second day.
Yeah.
And at the end of the season, they get rewarded with the top prize or second place or third place.
Okay.
And now this is going to be part of our program going forward.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're bringing FIFA into the curriculum almost just to keep them engaged?
Exactly.
I've never heard of that before. That's interesting.
Because we were quite limited in terms of what we can do, you know. So bringing FIFA, bringing in online activities, things like this, and that's why we just had to be creative.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh man, I had no idea that he was going to say that. Actually, I'll tell you one thing as well. You happen to be a fantastic fantasy football player. And this is your time to lap it up, because you have won the league twice in a row, back-to-back seasons. Even Pep Guardiola has not won the league back-to-back. And we're going to be getting all your questions. As Shakib just said to me now, he's going to get a lot of fantasy football questions. We're saving that till a bit later, so I'm going to pick his brain on that. But the question I have for everyone, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask you this as well, universities sometimes produce that star, that talent. I'm going to give you some time to think about during the break. I'm going to play some of my favorite Burna Boy. But before I do that, how can universities in the UAE produce the next star, the next Cristiano Ronaldo, the next Bron James, the next Serena Williams? Have a think about that, Tashriq, and we'll be right back after this. Guys, enjoy some Burna Boy 23. I'll be right back after this. Enjoy.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Thank you very much for tuning in and spending your Saturday with us. And listen, if you are missing the show, or if you did miss the first segment, don't worry, you can catch all the episodes on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Al-Ghami. Or if you prefer a visual, head over to the YouTube channel, check out Pulse 95 Radio, and we are there. We have some fantastic guests covering some really important topics such as mental health, gut health, and how important the brain is on performance and recovery. Right, okay, so Tashriq Mohammed's on the show today. Let's give okay, we asked a question before the break, and it was, how can universities in the UAE produce the next star? Cristiano Ronaldo, Serena Williams, or Bron James? Tashriq, tell us, man, you're on the inside. Tell us how do you guys produce that kind of talent?
It's a tricky question. I would definitely say that a lot more investment should be made for university sports. There's a lot of investment that goes into into the schools in the UAE. Not as much that goes into the universities. A lot of the kids after school, they leave. They go abroad. They play in the US, or they go to Europe to go and study. So I definitely think a lot more investment should be made for university and university sports, which will create more competition, more eyes on the sport, and that will maybe attract more students to maybe stay behind, because a lot of the good athletes, the young athletes, they go abroad, like I said. So I definitely think a lot more investment should be taking place.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because speaking about that, when you actually see the different types of cultures and backgrounds that your students have, do you ever wonder, like, this person's definitely going to make it?
To be honest, not really.
Is it hard to find that here?
It's hard because the level is just not it's not as high as, for example, the US or Bucks in the UK or in South Africa with the Varsity Cup.
Why do you think that? Is that because they start late? Is that because...
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
A lot of the schools don't have physical education in place, right? So a lot of the kids that we get, it's when they come for tryouts the first 2 weeks, it's like teaching them the basics of sport or just movement.
Yeah.
So it takes a long time for them to learn the sport, and at that stage when they're coming in at 18 and 19, it's kind of late to develop that type of athlete if you want to become like a high level type of athlete.
That's so interesting. Speaking about athletes, one of the national team players for the UAE, Alia, shout out to Alia, just joined in as well now. I'm sure her ears are popping after hearing the talent that's around in the UAE. I'm also curious, Tashriq, to ask you, because of, like I said, maybe the lack of investment sometimes, or the late bloomers in university sports, is it almost like not expected to find that talent, or is it something that you kind of have a fresh page every day? You get a fresh batch of students, and then you just roll with it.
Every year we get a fresh batch of students, and we have to reset all the time.
Very good choice of word. Love that. A question actually coming in for you, Tashriq, is how do you reset?
Travel. I got two. Travel.
Yeah.
And pray.
Nice. Travel and pray.
Yeah. Those are my top two. And
so with traveling being restricted over the last couple of years,
depends.
Have you managed to travel?
Well, I'm actually flying out next week. I haven't left for 2 years. So this is my reset.
Yes.
Because I just need a breath of fresh air and then come back, with new ideas.
Excellent. Where are you traveling to?
Turkey.
Nice.
So I'm going out to Turkey for 20 days.
Okay.
Just exploring the country, just getting
excursion?
Yeah, no, just leisure.
Leisure, okay.
Just leisure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, what I want to ask you now, technology is a huge thing in sports. It's there from university, it's there from academies now. There's more people leaning towards it because it's kind of cool to have the technology. How much of a role does it play in developing students? And I remember earlier in the first segment you mentioned EA and esports. Esports. How much does it play a part now in development?
So, I mean, technology and sport goes hand in hand. We've seen it all around the world in all the governing bodies, and, FIFA and stuff. But we're still in the infant stages, so we don't use much technology at the moment. I would like to implement more technology with our students.
Yeah.
Again, this comes with investment. Investment. So we go all the way back. Are we going to get enough money for this type of technology to improve our athletes? Because technology 100% improves an athlete.
Interesting. Sports science is something that's quite dear to my heart. I spend a lot of time on that. I'm sure you have too. The power of sports science, when it comes down to, let's say, investing in technology, if we can't do that, we then tend to focus on methods that sports science helps our students. Have you used much of that, seeing that in the UAE it's hard to kind of find that as a degree?
It is. I think there's maybe just 1 or 2 universities that offer a master's degree in exercise science or sports science. But in terms of sport management, or there's just no bachelor degrees at the moment.
Right. Story to tell you that in 1999, God, some people are like, this guy is old. In 1999, when I came out here to visit, I was looking for universities around. And Sharjah will be very happy to say this was one of the universities I looked at. I came to Sharjah AUS and I went to have a look. I'm sure Omnia will love me saying this. I went to have a look at the university because I wanted to study sports science here.
Okay.
And coming round, so I met someone and that person said to me, oh, come to our university in Sharjah. Obviously, I didn't know the different Emirates. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I went and there was these, I'm sure they might still have it now. I haven't been since, but there was these white stairs up to the top of it, and then it had a huge football pitch on the other side, and the lights were just beaming down. It was night, and I just thought, wow, this university is great. So then I went and asked them, do you have sports science? And they went, no.
Yeah.
And I went, so you have all this space and the lights and the sports, but no degree? And at that time they said, no, we don't. So I went back to the UK and studied over there. I wonder if, like you said, the awareness on having that degree, because obviously they can't do the masters without the actual bachelors. I wonder if that would change the development of our athletes here in the UAE. What do you think about that?
I think so. At the moment, I think it's more like a recreational kind of thing for universities. Sport is not that important, you know.
You think so?
I think so.
Interesting.
I think so. Compared to schools, the level of school competition in the UAE is really good.
Yes, I was going to say that, yeah.
There's so many good competitions, and there's a lot of time and effort placed on sports.
Yeah.
Whereas when the student transition into a university life, it's very different. It's just like for extracurricular or recreation.
Wow, because that's like the opposite.
Exactly. I would definitely. This is why, for a number of years, we're trying to just change the whole dynamic of things.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's the opposite. It's supposed to be the opposite.
Yeah.
You go from school and you go to a higher level of playing sports at universities. You know.
But it actually makes sense now, because when I was working at the UAE national team, I saw the amount of schools that were sending their kids to the UAE headquarters, and that was amazing. But now when you say the university life is a bit different, I'm thinking surely that would be the other way around.
Exactly.
Also,
facilities is another big thing.
Yeah.
You know, not all universities have their own campus, so they end up renting facilities, and you know they don't have a home ground. Whereas all schools here have their own home turf. You know, so I think in the next couple of years you're going to see a change, because in the past 1 year there's been 4 universities, including ours, that we've built a new campus.
Yeah.
But we got new facilities. So there's a change.
It sounds like a wave of evolution coming through.
I think so. And then also post-COVID, we don't know what to expect, but I think there's going to be a definite change with university sports.
Is there a positive side to COVID and the fact that you guys have used that time to kind of build when most things aren't actually active? Or has it been economically it's hit harder than expected?
It has definitely hit. It definitely hit us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a long time away from our students.
Right.
And that's what we missed the most. You know.
Yes.
The interaction that we had every day with the students.
Yeah.
So that's been quite difficult. But we looking forward for September. Hopefully things change.
Is that when everyone comes back?
That's what they say. Hopefully, yeah, inshallah. I hope that students can get back to playing. We miss them so much.
Yeah.
We miss the competition and, you know, just the interaction we had with the students.
Yeah, shout out to RIT as well, man. This guy's he's been telling me about the plans that you guys are making, the progression, and I'm very happy to be having him here in the studio. Okay, coming up next, this gentleman here not only happens to head the athletics department at RIT, but also has won the Pulse 95 radio halftime show fantasy football. And you know what? Before all you haters say, wherever you are, yeah, but it was lucky. It can't be lucky over 38 weeks. Trust me, I finished really low in that league. And he actually asked me during the break, he's like, yeah, maybe you just didn't give it attention. I gave it attention. I gave it so much attention, and I still finished really low. So there's a skill set behind it. So get your questions ready. We're going to be right back after the break. Some coffee. Toast by coffee. Enjoy. Here we go.
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Welcome to Pulse 95 Radio in the heart of Sharjah. Okay, right. Now, I gotta try and tone it down a little bit now, because I didn't do that well this year. But for those that know, Fantasy Football League is quite an important thing in life. And a lot of people think they're very good at it, like myself and Maria. And actually we're not. But this person here happens to be very good at it. And I know a lot of you people keep saying, just send me location. Just send me location. But the truth is, we're not that good at it. You know why? Because every year we think we're going to do another one, and we never, because we're really rubbish. And so right now, it's only right I actually ask the person who is the champion. The champion 2 years running back-to-back in fantasy football on the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio. And yes, that is Tashriq. Tashriq. He was trying to be nice to me as well. He was saying, maybe you don't take it seriously. I take it seriously. I take it seriously, and we didn't do quite well. We got a couple of questions in for you already. And
bunch of questions coming in.
Yes. Right. The first question, Shakib is asking, what changes in strategy decisions did you make this season to maintain your position at the top?
First of all, I would much prefer to not be on top, because there's people they're always chasing you. It's always a chase, and you're always looking behind.
Interesting.
To stay on top, I think It was knowing, basically just to have patience.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it's a marathon, so a lot of people would make changes as soon as the player is not performing in 1 or 2 games, and then make that change. Have patience a little bit. You don't have to change the play immediately, because it's unpredictable. You never know what happens, and the player that you move out might score a hat-trick the next game week. You never know what happens, but just be patient.
Absolutely.
And trust your gut.
Another question coming in. Maria, our very own Maria, is asking, who did he play his triple captain on?
My triple captain?
Yeah.
I put it on Harry Kane.
And?
So Harry Kane had a double game week that week.
And he got injured in the second game.
And he got injured in the second game.
Right.
I still ended up getting, I think, 40 plus points on that player. So that was good.
Yeah.
So I didn't lose out completely.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
Okay, but you still got 40 points.
I got 40 plus.
Mane got injured for me after 18 minutes. Just letting you know. Have you done anything different in terms of your approach this past season compared to the previous seasons?
This season was really tricky. There were so many game weeks, double game weeks, triple game weeks.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, Man United had 3 games in 1 week.
Yes.
So just being aware.
Are you a Man United fan?
I am.
Okay, Spicy, you'll be happy to hear him say that. We got Spicy, who's also here as a United fan.
So it was just being aware of what's coming up.
Right.
Don't just go with the flow of things. Kind of put some effort into knowing what's happening in the next 5 weeks from now.
Yeah. So you look 5 weeks ahead.
I would look ahead. There might be some blank game weeks. That's kind of out of your control, because you don't know when that game is going to be rescheduled.
Interesting.
So I would definitely look ahead.
So
and the players.
I see where I was going wrong-ish. In this fantasy football thing, I was looking 2 weeks ahead. My man is looking 5 weeks ahead, man. 5 weeks ahead. That's probably why I didn't win anything. Here's a really interesting question by another United fan like yourself. And he's asking, if it was Champions League, Fantasy League, who would you captain today? Chelsea versus Manchester City in the Champions League final. That's going to be happening tonight. If you could captain one person, who would you captain?
That's a tough one.
That's a good question. Very good question.
I'm leaning on a City player.
Okay.
I'm leaning on, do I want a differential, or do I want a guaranteed points? If I want a differential, I'll go for a defender.
If you want a differential?
If I'm chasing someone.
Cancelo, Walker?
Diaz.
Really?
Yeah,
Diaz?
I'll go for Diaz. Or Cancelo is a good choice.
Yeah.
Since he's attacking.
Listen, don't take advice from me, man.
But I would probably play it safe. I'll go with one of the midfielders, probably.
De Bruyne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go safe.
Before we take a break, we're going to carry on these questions after the break. The Adan's coming up. But before we take a break, Maria's asking, did you ever take advice from the scout option?
Never.
That's why
it's terrible.
We are doing awful. Is because we take advice from that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay. Now I know. Now I know that we can't be doing that.
Sometimes they've got some good options, but for the most part, I wouldn't tune in every week. For advice. There you go.
See, I'm telling you now, man. I'm just gonna call up Tashriq and ask him what's going on. So, if you were captaining anyone today, that would be Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna make you think about a question during the break. But next year, will it be the same setup for you, or will you switch it up?
That's after the break?
That's after the break. It's going to be right after the break. We're going to have some time to think about that for him. And also for everyone who's tuned on the Instagram Live, keep your questions coming in, by the way. Fantastic questions. It's funny that we've spoken about education, technology, sports science. Everyone's asking about fantasy football league.
I'm sure.
Having you on the show. There you know. And shout out to Ish as well here, who's creating some magic behind the scenes footage. If you don't know, now you know. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. The Adan is going off, but again, keep those questions coming in. Some really, really good questions on the fantasy football. Tashriq is here in the studio. He's someone that has been heading up the athletics department at RIT. Shout out to RIT. And also, we'll be right back after the Adan.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. Thank you very much for spending your afternoon with me. We've got Tashriq Mohammed in the studio. show today.
Unbelievable, Jeff.
Yes, it is unbelievable, and it's been a great show so far. And thank you very much for sending all your questions in as well. You know, it's funny. We spoke about education, we spoke about technology, we spoke about sports science, and everyone has been blowing up my phone on Instagram Live at Omar Abduri saying, asking about fantasy football because he's won it 2 years in a row, and we've had him on the show today to discuss his tactics, and he was very humble about it and said, yeah, it's something that it's a marathon and the rest of it, but I go 5 weeks in advance. He did say that. Right, so the question we asked you before the break, and do you have any top tips for next season? And are you going to use the same strategy as you did?
I'm definitely going to use the same strategy.
And what's that? Put him on the spot.
Plan in advance.
Plan in advance.
Plan in advance. Find out when your players are playing, not just 2 weeks from now, but 3 or 4 weeks, because injuries can happen.
Yeah.
You have to replace these players. All kinds of things can happen. Football is unpredictable in most cases, as well as, fantasy football is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen. It's just a guessing game, you know.
It's a very good guessing game when you're winning by that many. How many points did you get this year?
What is it? 2,400 plus.
2,453. 2,453 points, as he looks over very casually. Do you know how many points that is? That's a lot of points. Oh boy. Here's one for you. Have you ever had a bad week?
Oh, of course.
No, be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
What's a bad week, like 80 points?
No. Bad week's like 30-something points.
30-something points.
And sometimes you're first, and then the guy behind you has got 70 points, and you're constantly watching your back.
Yeah.
So when you wake up on that Sunday or that Monday morning and you see red arrows, you start like, oh man, they're catching up with me.
What's a good week?
A good week, I would say, on average, I think 70 points a week is good.
70 points a week.
If you get over 100, it was 1 week I had 150 something points. That was a good week. That's
150 points.
Yeah, that was that week with the double game weeks, the triple game weeks. That was a good week for everyone. I think the average was 100 plus anyways. I don't know about yours, Omar, but
I don't know about mine either. I think I'm still waiting. I'm hoping points just creep up on my screen. Hey, listen, you're about 1,000 points, and here's 1,000 points, and now you're top of the league. I don't even know what position I finished. I was really bad this year.
I can have a look for you. Nah,
you know what? Because I'm a fair sport, have a look and let everyone know how bad I did this year. His thing is, you know what the worst thing is? He's scrolling down. That's how far down I am. He keeps scrolling down the league. What am I, 33rd? 35th?
I can't find you.
He can't even find me. I got relegated. That's how bad it is. I got so bad.
Oh, there we go. Number 37.
37 out of 40.
Out of 51. So,
He's being nice. That was
okay,
awful. You know what this makes me feel like doing when you say it's okay, Omar? This is what it makes me feel like doing. Just cricket silence. Because that is awful. Oh my God, Tashriq. I'm going to definitely be getting advice from you next season, that's for sure. Tashriq, obviously there's been a lot of good things happening, and I know university's been very, very tough to kind of pick up things. The fact that you not only stayed positive, but you've been, a very important driving force behind RIT athletics. It's refreshing to know there's people out there that are doing what you're doing, and more. And it also it assures the UAE that they're in good hands. So I'm very, very grateful that you took the time out to speak to us a bit about that, and also your honesty as well. It's never easy, and COVID's hit a lot of people, and universities have been hit massively by it. But I'm looking forward to hearing back from you next year. When you tell us how good the university is doing and how much better I did in fantasy football. Listen, it can only go up after the finish that I had. Where is there a program coming up or initiative coming up at the university, or what's the latest with RIT?
The latest with RIT is we actually don't know what's happening in September, but I think everything's going to be in person. Mm-hmm. In terms of sports, I don't see us going back to competition anytime soon. I think it's going to be a phased approach. Right. This is what I'm assuming. Okay. Since we've been out for a year and 6 months.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get back into competition immediately. I think it'll just be limited training, limited in-person training. Also, our athletes haven't trained for a year and 6 months, so we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
We got a lot of work to do in terms of getting them back up to where they need to be in order to compete.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But we're looking forward to it. We can't wait.
Yeah.
We can't wait.
It's exciting times in the sense that, you've really... It just seems like whilst a lot of people might want to rush back into competition, I think the approach that you're doing in terms of phasing and then also in terms of like building it gradually is amazing.
And then also injuries we need to take into consideration. I mean, like I said, they've been out for such a long time.
Yeah.
The last thing we want to do is, surprise them with intense training, and injuries happen all the time, especially with the younger players.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omar. Thanks for having me.
I hope it wasn't as daunting as you thought.
It wasn't because I got a good host like yourself, which makes the guests feel quite comfortable. So thank you, Omar.
I appreciate that. And we have reached full time on the halftime show. Remember, you can catch it every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 3 to 4. Thank you very much for tuning in. And if you are tuning in now and thinking, man, I missed such a good episode, what do I do? Don't worry. Thanks to Super Mario and Gabby, they put everything on YouTube later. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe to the channel, Pulse 95 Radio, and give some love to the halftime show as well. Thank you very much, Tashriq. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you, Ish, for behind the scenes footage. I see you go. I appreciate that. And remember, guys, I will see you back on Monday. Be good, stay blessed, and have an incredible day. Peace and love.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.